Good Tuesday, everybody, and welcome once again to another edition of Pins on Campus, where we're going to talk college bowling and anything else that Jonathan and I want to talk about. Jonathan, we have a lot to talk about tonight.
There's a long docket of items for sure.
Yes, there is. And I have my list right here. I'm sure you have your list. Little under the weather, made the drive back from Green Bay, Wisconsin, 15 hours, got back late Saturday, hung around the house on Sunday. Monday, got sick. So, you know, it was just jam-packed with people. You're around all those people. If you run across the wrong person, I guess, and shake hands or make contact or whatever, you end up
the name of the game of collegiate bowling is a lot of people in a confined space, so that usually doesn't bode well for those type of things.
There was a ton of people at Ash in I don't even know how to say it. They told me how to say it, but I still can't say it right.
Everybody calls it Ash Bowl. Yeah,
Ash Bowl.
That's what it was referred to at Junior Gold last year, so that's what we know it by.
Yeah.
Ash.
And a very long bowling center. What's interesting enough, they only had one sign from the outside. And I found that quite interesting. There was a mural that was painted, I don't know, I guess it was the eastern wall on the outside. That was the only sign that I saw. But
interesting.
If you look at it, it's either a bowling center or an ice rink. One of the two.
Well, up there, I mean, it could be a chance it's either or.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the national championship. Very proud of my squad. You know, we finished 5th. It was brutal, and we're going to get into it a little bit. But the first thing that I want to say, and that might be the norm tonight, but I do have water right here. First thing I want to say is I want to say thank you to Gary Brown and Zach, the tournament director, and all the USBC collegiate staff. They had some challenges from a time perspective. You know why? Because so many matches went to 7 games.
Yeah.
And when those matches go to 7 games, it extends the amount of time in between sessions and rounds quite a bit. So kudos to them. The way that went down with all the delays and the number of matches that went to 7 games. Now, talk about the men's side first. Men's side, 16 teams, only one team during the 24 Baker games of seeding play managed to average 200. One. Do I need to repeat that, Jonathan?
I got it.
One. And we were 600 under in 16th place after the seeding round. And a lot of people were looking at the scores. I mean, you had teams that were 300 under, 400 under, big time blue blood teams that just could not get anything going on that pattern. And we're going to show the pattern here in a minute. But when you saw the scores, what was your initial reaction?
Well, it was more so what I saw from watching it before I looked at the scores, because what I had the Bowl TV stream, either the main stream or whatever stream you guys were on. If it wasn't the main, it was whichever set of lanes. And I had the lane talk screen up on my computer, on one screen, so I can kind of go back and forth. Because it was funny is the lane talk actually updated a little bit faster than the Bowl TV stream. So the scoring was a little ahead, so I could kind of see what was going on. And it wasn't till Baker set 4 of qualifying that I actually got on bowl.com to check the standings. And I was like, wow. When you're going shot to shot, game to game, you know, I'm looking for different things than maybe the general college bowling spectator would, you know, so I'm more ingrained in what is happening with lane play, who's playing where, what's, you know, all that good stuff, less focused on what the scores are summing up to be. But it was kind of shocking. But then if you were actually watching it too, it wasn't overly surprising. From a consumer of college bowling entertainment perspective, I don't think it was beneficial. I don't know how quick we're going to get into that, but It, for there to be one team plus, it was a little shocking at that time.
All right. I've got the pattern set up here. I'm going to try. Let me do this here. Let's see here. Okay. So here, let me throw this up. Where we at? There we go. Yeah, let me blow it up a little bit. Move it over just a tad. All right, so that's a good look at the qualifying. And you had one team that was +9. That's it. SCAD.
Yep.
93 under. Milligan. I'm doing quick math here. 106 under. Wichita State was 127 under. St. Ambrose, the eventual champion, they were 153 under. Mount Mercy, who battled it out in the finals, they were 176 under. Lawrence Tech, 279 under. Newman, 286 under. And I can go on and on and on. Excuse me. So it was absolutely brutal. And there we are right there. We were 605 under. All right. Now, I will point this out. Look at the scores. Buck 58, 240, 140, 150, 160, 180, 170, 160, 170, 195, 176, 202. That was game 13 through 24. Dude, I'm telling you, it was impossible for what we had equipment-wise. It became very, very, very challenging because we had no idea. And I had really done a lot of work in doing research and previous patterns, and we bowled on previous patterns, and we couldn't even spare. I mean, we had 36 mismakeables in 24 games.
Not a recipe for success.
No, and that's not how we got there. We got there because we were almost at 90%.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys had a really good spare shooting at sectionals. So that kind of not a good sign out the gate there, but obviously things got better.
So, you know, we take a break, we talk about it, and they re-oil, and obviously we have the number 1 seed in round 1. And we figured something out. But the other thing that we did, we only had 2 mismakeables against Weber. That's it. And we jumped out to a 3-0 lead. But this was the case in every single match, Jonathan. We were so deep and playing the lane so inside that other people began to see what we were doing, and they jumped real quick after they were struggling kind of in between. And when they jumped and started lofting the ball past the arrows, it torched everything that we were playing. Now, we didn't realize this at the time because we don't get to see the pattern, so we had no idea. And we thought, all right, we're only in game 5. They can't be burned up already in Baker. But they were burned up, and they were getting worse, and they were getting worse, and they were getting worse. And fortunately enough, we really capitalized on some good shots, some great shots, and more importantly, some bad shots. There's not a school that was in this national championship that didn't have a Brooklyn or a Jersey squasher or something in a key situation. Because that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
And we took down the number 1 seed. So we're feeling pretty good. And then we get McKendree. And I knew Dennis and his crew, they were going to be dialed in. I don't know. I think they were the 9th qualifier. And we knew that we were going to have a good look early. And we did. And we got out to a 3-1 lead. And then it got a little dicey. But we managed to, once again, clean up the mismakeables. And I think we only had 2 mismakeables against McKendree. And they did not have strikes in key situations.
Right.
It was either washout or split or, something. And folks, I cannot tell you how difficult this pattern was. It was insanely challenging. And we'll get into that a little later, right? Because I know what people are going to say. Well, it was a level playing field. Everybody had the same opportunity on a very challenging pattern. Okay, I get that. But you know what it turned into? And if anybody wants to argue this with me or debate or discuss, I'll give you my cell phone number and you can call me and we'll talk about it. We, as a program, being our first trip to nationals, we did not get lucky because we did not guess right on our equipment. We didn't. Now, I did a lot of homework. I talked to a lot of people, and I felt our arsenal was dialed in good. I really did.
Now, is it the same rules as sectionals as far as you can't surface once practice starts? Do they follow the same rule, or can you surface during practice?
Honestly, I've slept since then, but I think you could, but surface was not the answer. I mean, everybody had spinners and they were shining everything up.
Yeah.
Right. Surface did not come to play unless it was shined up. So we guessed wrong. And a lot of people are going to go, oh, well, the reason that they got out to a 3-0 lead and they ended up losing to St. Ambrose and they ended up losing with a 3-1 lead against Wisconsin Marion is because they were young and they couldn't close it out. They couldn't finish and they're inexperienced. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, the reason that we collapsed with a 3-0 lead or a 3-1 lead, we couldn't do anything else. My squad is not designed to loft the ball 30 feet down the lane on this pattern. And we did not, the weakest thing we had an axe. And they shut out the left-handers. I mean, Riley Spear was putting stuff together with duct tape and crazy glue. And my right-handed guys, they were in front of the ball return after game 5. Seriously? And I know that you have seen some of the videos and some of the footage. In fact, the picture that I sent you was probably the greatest picture I saw the entire post game. I was going to try and pull it up.
We had a bowling ball size hail in Green Bay, Wisconsin. That's what was happening.
Jonathan, it was insane. Hang on, where's it at here? Well, I sent it to you. Do you have it? I don't know why I can't pull it up.
Let's see.
What? Here it is right here. Good grief. Okay, here it is. Let's see. Look at that. Yeah. And the caption with that picture is, hang on, let me blow this up. That's not what I want. That's not it either. Here we go. Okay, see it right there. And the caption is average shot at USBC Intercollegiate Nationals this week. And it's like a 24-foot jump shot. Right? That's the way that it was. And honestly, look, I'm not making excuses because we did not perform well because we didn't know how to do that at the level that it was needed to be accurate. I mean, come on. Anybody can stand in front of the ball return and chuck it over the gutter cap. It's can you repeat it and can you be consistent with it? And we could not do that. But we were kind of dialed in once match play started until they got torched. And when they got torched, it was massively difficult for us. Simply because we did not have the skill set to be accurate in lofting the ball 25 feet down the lane. And the other teams, and major props to them, they performed that tactic enormously well. And we did not. And still, Jonathan, we were one frame away from taking down St. Ambrose 4-0. One frame. Yep. So from a program standpoint, I'm massively disappointed, but at the same time, I'm enormously proud of what this group, the only team that was there without a senior, and the first trip, what we accomplished really kind of solidified all the hard work that these kids have done this year. And, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's just a year 3 program. And honestly, it's a year 1 program.
Yeah.
Because everybody that was with the program in year 1, they're no longer here. And then I only had 4 players over from the previous season. And then I had 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a junior in the starting lineup. Massively proud of what these kids accomplished.
Yeah, it was a really fun ride for all of us as friends of your program to follow as well. All of our team was kind of had Bowl TV in the office on the whole time. And, you know, everybody was stopping by between classes to watch a few frames as they could. And the guys that were lucky enough to not have class for an extended period of time would come sit down in the office and watch. And even some of our DBU staff members were walking through the hall, peeking their head in the door, like, what's going on in here? And we're explaining what's going down. Then they're watching. So it was a really cool thing to follow. I just remember the phone call that we had right before position round for the Baker sets when you called, and you were a little frustrated with what had happened so far, and understandably so. And I threatened to fly up there to tighten it up for your team, and they tightened it up after that. So I guess that phone call worked. But it was a really fun ride to follow. We were cheering for you guys the whole way, as you know. And it also, as impactful as it was for you guys to have that experience, find that success, you know, it's a motivational piece for our team as well, because, you know, we're 2 programs that have gone toe-to-toe at a lot of tournaments this year. You know, finished very close, had 2 close head-to-head matches, you know, so we're not far off what you guys have. And to see what you were able to accomplish at Nationals is kind of something that's motivating for us a little bit too, knowing we're closer than we think we are. We just have to be able to put things together. So excited for you guys, excited for our whole group between our 2 programs, because there's a lot of friendships within our programs to see that be the result. And some of those crazy matches, 7-game matches are always exciting no matter where they fall. Obviously you want them to be in your favor, but to me, that's what bowling's all about. So
every match we had went 7 games except the McKendree match that we won 4-1. So great time. All right. I am going to throw up the lane pattern. Now, this is how we're going to address this lane pattern. The way I'm going to approach this is, Jonathan, what could we do to make the national championship better? Okay? And I've got the pattern. I'm not even going to address the pattern, because here's what I'm going to do. When you look at that pattern and then you think about what actually took place, let me hear your thoughts first.
Okay. So for those that aren't tracking, this is the team pattern. The singles pattern is completely different. This is what the teams bowled on for their qualifying and match play portion.
Correct.
And to see what ended up happening and now seeing the graph, it makes zero sense, right? Because all of the volume in this is all right there in the front. And it's basically all dumped in the front and then brushed out. Well, if you loft it, you're now taking all that volume out of play, which could be helpful in that situation. So the way it ended up being played probably made things a whole heck of a lot worse. Probably could have been played differently. Obviously, I wasn't there. There's information about the center, including panels, topography that plays into it. But if you were to just hand me this sheet, I don't think lofting in front of the gutter or in front of the ball return would be on my bingo card. At least, unless we were in a 32 Baker game format, then maybe by the end, of course, anything's possible. But with all that volume in the front, that's really what you're going to chase. I think also what played into it as well is, and I talked to Tom a little bit today, and he was actually the lane man out there. Obviously, he's got no influence over the pattern. His job is just to run the machines and then kind of see how things go. He was kind of confused too how it ended up being played. It's not kind of what he expected teams to do. But the one feedback piece that he had and we talked about that I agreed a lot on is if, you're one team and you see 12 other teams playing a certain way, you kind of got to be together because it's worse to be apart. And you're not going to be all by your team by yourself, make it work. Like, let's just say SNU, you guys were committed to playing the outside. Well, if nobody's there with you, it's going to make that hard to develop if it's going to develop at all, right? And Mark knows a little bit more about how that didn't work based on his experience up there. It
didn't work.
Panels. But if all these groups are going to start left and so many teams start doing it, you have communal/group lane play. Everybody's going to jump on it together, and you're gonna tear it up from that standpoint left.
Which they did. That's what happened.
Which is exactly what happened. Yeah. But should it have happened? Probably not. It's interesting to if the coaches all read this a certain way, every program's different. Some programs, their coach is kind of their eyes of where the team starts. Some programs lean more on player feedback and practice to kind of see what the plan is. You guys had a practice session as well, correct?
Correct.
So you had a little bit of time to bowl on it there as well.
An hour.
Obviously, it's not going to play anywhere near the same on tournament day as it is in practice. But, it'd be interesting to me if it was coach direction and they all decided to play in that area and that caused some of the issues, or if that was kind of the players saw free hook and they were going to use it wherever they wanted. But I don't know, Mark. There's a lot to unpack there. But to me, if I could choose a pattern or a structure for a national championship tournament, I wouldn't make it drastically different than what we saw at the 4 sectionals. Could it be a little bit harder and maybe a little bit flatter? Sure. I don't know if I'd go crazy with the structure. However, I think I'd make it still pretty similar to what we normally see at something like a tier 1 or sectionals. That's going to have maybe multiple options of play and not so drastically different, like something like that pattern we just saw right there.
Okay. All right. I want to talk about how we make the sport better. All right. And I'm going to use a golf comparison. Can you imagine showing up for the NCAA men's individual and team championships where you have an idea what the course is like, but you have no idea what the rough is like, what the fairways are like, what the greens are like, and where the pin placement is. And you get an hour to go out and look at as many holes as you can and hit a few golf balls. But you're only limited to 5 golf clubs. That's it. Okay, go out there, figure it out, make it happen. Then when you show up to the tee box the very next day, excuse me, the pin placement on 70% of the greens is 1 foot off of the fringe of the green. Pretty tough, all right?
Yep.
The rough is 8.5 inches. You hit it in the rough, guess what? It's like a penalty shot.
It's gone.
It's gone, and
It's gone.
Good luck on trying to find it.
Yeah.
And then not a single player or team is at level par after 18 holes. In fact, they're 20 over, 15 over, 14 over. Okay, now that is the only comparison I'm going to make to golf, because here's the point that I want to make. Right? Very challenging, the unknown. You tell me another collegiate sport where you don't know what the circumstances are going to be, what the atmosphere or the playing field is going to be like, or you get zero time to practice and simulate what you're going to go after in whatever competition you're doing. Does that exist?
No. Because
off the top of my head, it doesn't exist.
In every team versus team sport, you're going to look at film. You're going to game plan. You're going to look at some history. You're going to figure some things out. Like you're talking about with golf, you're going to scout the course, right? You're going to get an idea the day before what things look like, get some readings on green speed, get some sight lines, obviously some markers of where you want to try to hit shots.
Range finders.
Yeah, you're going to map it all out. You're going to have your yardage book. You're going to have notes. So when you go into the tournament week, you kind of have a base game plan. Of course, are things going to be the exact same on game day? No. Every sport has that ability, right? The grass grows overnight. There's rain. It's going to change golf.
Weather.
The team doesn't use the same exact game plan on you when you face them maybe for the third time in the season.
Yeah.
That's all possible as well. However, the playing field is still the same. Right. And the expectation, all you're doing is making small adjustments off that. So to your point, that doesn't exist. To a broader point, I don't think that's a great look or light on the entertainment value of what makes collegiate bowling collegiate bowling. Would you agree with that statement as well?
I agree with that. But then it turns into did I guess right on the arsenal? In a bowling perspective.
That's another point, because in something like this where you have teams like yourself who are, what'd you say, 15-hour drive from home is how far it was?
Yeah.
Traveling 15 hours, they can't go back home and get another piece. Like you got what you got before you leave. And if you have no idea, you're right. You're guessing. And I think we talked about on the show 2 weeks ago, maybe the show before that. I talked to a couple of good coaches in the area from just a coaching standpoint, also with some high schools. And I explained to them the situation we were in for sectionals, because they were all asking how it went and things like that. And I said, well, this is how it went, but I want you guys to know what we're working with first, so you understand where I'm going to go with the conversation. Right. I said, 5-ball limit, don't know the pattern, no practice session, we can't surface during practice. All of them stared at me for about 15 to 20 seconds. Like they didn't believe what I was talking about. And one specific coach said it the best, and this is a gentleman who has previous college coaching experience, albeit it was years ago, but had a very good program, said, so you're telling me that you're rewarding which team guesses the best? I was like, yeah, actually, you're spot on with that. So for you to put it that way, Mark, I agree, and know that there's people that agree with that statement as well. And to me, that's a dangerous game to be playing when you're talking about determining a national champion.
Good point. So, as I stated at the beginning of the show, how do we make it better? Well, this is how I think we make it better. And a lot of people that have been around for, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they need to understand that we need to grow the college game. We need to make the college game better. We need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to showcase the skills that these student athletes have worked extremely hard to improve, and not let the result be whether or not they guessed right on the arsenal that they brought, and the fact that they don't have a loft the ball 25 foot down the lane game.
You're right.
Okay, so how do we make that better? Here's how we make it better. Okay. It should not be a strike fest. And I don't want people to get the interpretation that's what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. I think the right ratio is somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5. Somewhere around there. Okay. I think a week before sectionals and a week before nationals, those teams that are participating in those events should have the pattern. You tell me any other sport that either the individual or the team is not doing a ton of work, looking at game film, analyzing, planning, getting their arsenal dialed in, getting their clubs ready.
Yeah.
That's part of the beauty of the game, Jonathan.
And every single team and I can hear the rebuttal right now. Well, not every team has the ability to lay the pattern out. I'm sorry, but every team that has the ability to be at nationals has the ability to put a pattern out of this.
Great point. Great point.
Your club teams might not. I understand that. But those aren't the teams that are bowling for the national championship in April.
And once again, I don't want to take anything away from what St. Ambrose did and the match that they had with Mount Mercy and what Marion of Wisconsin did and Spring Arbor. It was impressive. But if you want to make it better, that's how you're going to make it better. Look, I have talked to people. My phone rang off the wall, contacting me, telling me how cool it was that a 16 beat a 1 and all that. But you know what? It wasn't a true representation of how good this team is. Even though we knocked off the number 1 team, it was survival of the strongest is what it was.
Yeah.
And getting the right breaks at the right time is what it was.
I have a semi-warm, if not hot take that's kind of a broader spectrum on this conversation.
Do tell.
I think that from a college bowling standpoint, what was shown at nationals is not a positive reflection on what makes college bowling great. And what I mean by that is the talent level that some of these students have and these coaches have to make quick adjustments, think on their feet, and put up big scores. But from a perspective of somebody who was watching all week, who wasn't there, had no stake in anybody being there other than, obviously watching SNU maybe a little bit closely, that was a brutal watch. The entertainment value
unless you like watching guys loft the ball halfway down the lane.
I mean, and some people get a trick out of that, but I don't want to see that for 4 straight days. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And the big piece here for me is this tournament is a lot of what the perception about college bowling is in the general public eye, because this is what gets shown on the national stage now. Bowl TV doesn't follow us to a lot of events anymore. It's sectionals and nationals is pretty much all that's on there. These shows also end up on CBS Sports Network, and there'll be highlights from some of this footage appear on there, I'm sure. So this that we had this week is what shows up on the national stage for collegiate bowling. Does that show the right message about the state of collegiate bowling? I don't think so.
If you continue to put out brutally tough patterns, not just in college, but in a lot of the youth events, the way that the kids are today with the options that they have in their disposable income and their choice of athletics that they want to participate in, if you continually go out and you bowl on a pattern where you're 300 under, well, what's that kid going to do?
Exactly. They're going to quit. Yeah.
He's going to lose interest because he's not having success. Now, the flip on that is work harder. Okay, well, guess what? I'm going to work harder. Next one he shows up, he's 250 under because it's 1.67 to 1 at 37 foot. And as soon as the ball went out of his hand, it went left. And you know what? He doesn't have 27 bowling balls back there to go in and make a ball change.
Right. And I agree with you in the stance that we're not asking for a strike fest here where the field average is like some of the tour stops we've seen this year in the 240s, 230s.
Yeah.
I want to see a really good team in a Baker game be able to put 4 and 5 together of aced shots. To your point, you said it a little bit earlier, and this was the feedback of some other people that were there that I've talked to. A lot of the strings were a result of a good shot, then a Brooklyn, then another good shot, then maybe a light mixer, and that was your 4-bagger. It wasn't a team acing 4 shots in a row because nobody could really do that. So I want to see a good team ace 4 shots in a row, put together a 4-bagger, and get excited about it. I don't want to see a team go runaway Brooklyn twice, light mixer one out, and then throw a good shot, and that be a positive representation of the top level of talent in collegiate bowling, because that's what the national championship tournament is.
Should it be an event where the team that has the skill base to loft it 20 feet down the lane is the one that rose to the top?
Not if that's the exclusivity of the toolbox that they need.
Now,
to find
if
success.
you know it, like if you know that you're playing a British Open at Royal Troon or wherever, well, what are you going to work on? You're going to work on bunker play. You're going to work on, the design of that course. You're going to do everything to prepare based upon the challenge that lies ahead of you. Well, when you don't even know what it is, how are we supposed to prepare and know that it was going to end up being a loft fest?
Yeah, or at least dip into a few different buckets. I got a great analogy for you, Mark. I'm a racing guy. So yes. I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole for a second. What makes a good race? Well, in today's modern day of racing, when all the cars are really close together, the big thing that determines race quality is tires, right? How they fall off, right? How much you abuse them, how much heat you put in them, and how much speed you can carry over the distance of a run.
Yeah.
Right. What that does is it creates a disparity amongst the field of guys who are really good on fresh tires, but burn them up really quick and don't have as much speed late, or guys that are a little bit more conservative over time. But you know what? There's different phases to that race. In bowling, an ideal situation for me is a pattern or a format or something that tests all those different areas. All right, let's start on the gutter. All right, you're not going to be there the whole time, but if a team is really good over there, they're going to have a little bit of advantage for now. All right, now we're playing the middle part of the lane. Teams that are really, really accurate can have really good ball speed variance. They're going to find some success in that area. And then you have what we saw. When you have to get way left, you have to start lofting. There are teams that do that really well. Test all those pockets, and the culmination of all those together, the team that did the best on average through those phases should be the one that finds the most success. Ideally, that is my formula to what would make a good event as far as determining who's a good champion.
You're reading and reacting. You're adapting to the conditions, changing based upon what's taken place throughout.
But you're testing all the major areas, right? You're on different parts of the lane at different times with different pieces of equipment. It's not just all one thing. Is it hard to make a pattern that does that? Probably, and there's science I don't understand that probably goes into that, but I don't think that's an impossible ask, Mark, because we've seen it. We've seen tournaments start on the ditch and then have, for a game or two, then we see a bunch of lane play in the middle, and then we see at the end deep inside. I don't think it's an impossible ask, but I think it's a good representation of, a good team's ability to find success in all three of those areas, if that's the case.
There were some great players at that event. Great teams, Wichita State, Weber, SCAD. The lefties were totally shut out. Most of the left-handers that were there struggled immensely. But you had some of the top players in the world in the college game. Brooklyn, Jersey squasher, left for a 7 count, 3 count. Is this in the best interest of all parties involved? The sport, the universities, the student athletes, and the game itself? I don't think so. I don't think so. So I believe that aspect, the way that the game becomes better is, one, a week before, send out the pattern. Send it out. And there's guys out there, coaches, probably screaming at me right now. You can't do that. You can't do that. We've never done that. Well, be proactive, have a game plan, watch game film, do everything you can to put yourself and your team in the best position to win. Is that not what sports is about?
Exactly. And no matter if you have the ability to put out the pattern, even if you don't have any panels that are close to ash bowl, whatever, there is still something you can do to prepare.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I would be curious if anybody has the answer to this, send us a message or comment or whatever. I don't think it's also unreasonable to ask that there be some kind of pattern testing, some like extensive pattern testing when you're talking about a pattern that means as much as it does to crown a national champion. Like send a few, bowlers who have nothing to do with college bowling up to that center to test out the pattern, to just see if there's anything crazy that's going to happen well beforehand. So you still have time to make adaptations, but you're in that environment and you're going to have all the same circumstances. So know your thing, stuff like that.
I know.
If this tournament means that much, if we're crowning a national champion, do you think that's something that should be part of the equation?
The challenge to that is you have no way of really predicting what's going to happen in transition.
If you bowl on it long enough,
if you do, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. If you do bowl on it long enough, but the interesting characteristic, most of the people, most of the players, most of the teams were all playing the same area of the lane. And then all of a sudden, boom, it turned into a loft fest because it was torched. And the description I told one of my players when we looked at the pattern, I said, think of it as a plate of pancakes, okay? And on that plate of pancakes, there is a red line right in the middle of that plate. And on the lower part of that plate, it is just absolutely smothered in syrup, okay? Just the perfect blend of syrup and butter. And then on the other side of the line, there's just a dab of syrup here and there. All right. And when that plate of pancakes come out, you get ready to eat it. Oh, no. Guess what? Below that red line, you can't have those pancakes. You got to eat the pancakes that are on the other side of the line. Well, there's no syrup there. Well, yeah, there's a little bit out there. Make the best of what little syrup's out there. Yeah, but I want to use, well, you can't really use that on the lower end of the line because when you put 37 mils of oil in the vast majority of the syrup is on that side of the plate, what good's it going to do? It's going to ruin the pancakes. It's too much syrup, too big a puddle. But then on the other side of the line, pancakes aren't that great. You know why? Because you just got a little bit of syrup and not very much butter. So what do? Well, you choose to eat the side that's still going to be eatable because you're not going to eat the pancakes that has, 24 ounces of syrup on them.
I mean,
nobody uses that part of the lane.
I mean, yeah. Could you figure out why the first answer for everybody was loft? Like, was there an indication of why that was the case?
Yeah,
nobody
because
could figure out that all the volume was right.
It was like you got outside of 15, it just skated. It just kept going. So obviously, when you get into that big loft game, you have it was the best consistent ball reaction that you could get. Okay, because anybody that wasn't playing in the puddle, which was very few, they were getting very inconsistent ball reads and ball reactions. So guys were just standing left and getting in front of the ball return and throwing it a million miles an hour halfway down the lane, and they did it enormously well. I mean, really, really good.
Yeah, I think accurate players have a better chance at making different things happen on that pattern. Like if you think like truly accurate players like Francois Lavoie, Norm Duke, those kind of guys who can pepper it and keep it online. Exactly. Kind of getting to my point here. They could make something on that pattern, but the general college player is not going to have that level of accuracy, so you can't ask them to be able to attack this pattern the same way.
And you know what else they can do?
They're going to do whatever finds them the most traction.
They just go out to the truck and drill up whatever they need to adapt to what they're seeing.
That's a whole nother conversation, but yeah, I agree. you could chase that down a long rabbit hole. Yeah. But yes, so I agree.
To make it better, once again, I'm not complaining. To make it better, I think you put out a scoreable pattern that requires you to make shots. Okay? It's not a wall fest or anything like that.
What do you think of the singles pattern?
I don't even want to talk about it. I really don't.
For those that haven't seen it, go find it on bowl.com, the singles pattern for ISCs. It's very, very, very similar in structure. It's just longer, a lot longer.
All right. You're going to think
you got to watch Brandon bowl on it. So
yeah. I mean, you're going to think it's the same pattern, but it's not.
Very similar. It's just kind of like stretched out.
Yeah. It's all buff.
Mm-hmm. Yep, same thing. All that oil's in the front, and it's just buffed out.
But it was only 30 mils.
The machine's running really fast too. If you look at the times, it's something that's kind of
unique. And the other thing was here. Let me throw. There's the team. Okay, and there's the singles.
55 feet.
Team singles, and there were some guys that tried to play the gutter, and like I didn't watch the finals or anything yet, but eventually they moved in. And seemed to be the place to play. So, no, I'm a big proponent in doing what is necessary to prepare to give your team the best opportunity to win. All right. I'm not mad. I'm just like, okay, these are the rules. Let's go. But
I want that. Plus, what's going to give us the best equation to crown a national champion that's deserving of doing a bunch of different things right.
They deserved it.
To loft. Yeah, they deserved it.
They deserved it because they were at best at identifying, move in, and chuck it down the lane.
But they're the best at one part of the game.
Well, they could be the best playing the ditch. We don't know that.
We should.
You're kind of solidifying your argument there. They're not necessarily an argument, but anyway, St. Ambrose got it done. And I don't even, was it 3 games to 2? I know they changed the format. It's not 4 out of 7. I think it's
airs on CBS Sports Network, but from the Instagram post I was following of people sharing stuff, I think that's about right.
Yeah. Hey, look at this. Are you adding a lofting practice the next year?
Yeah, you might have to at this point.
Yeah, probably so. But it's not great on the panels. I mean, I know those panels are somewhat indestructible.
No, I heard that they did not look great after the tournament. So
I can't imagine. I mean, I showed you the picture.
Hail damage is what it was described as. Hail damage.
Yes. And that's why we titled this show Lofty Goals, because there was a whole lot of loft going on.
And once again, loft.
Do not want to take
one of those.
What's that?
You ever been to a center that talks about loft in the league meeting?
No.
Yeah, that's a real thing too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So, great experience. And once again, I want to thank Gary and Zach and everybody up there that, man, they treated us well. It was outstanding, very good facilities, and could not be happier with the exception of the outcome, but still happy. Don't take that the wrong way. All right. We already have a theme for next year. Not going to tell you.
I know.
It's you know.
I love it. Yeah. It's great.
All right. On the women's side, you want to venture over to the women's side?
Let's do it.
Hang on here. Do I have the right one pulled up? Oh, I do not. Stand by.
Or which women's championship are we talking about?
The Jack State versus McKendree.
Okay, so ITC.
Now, the week prior, Jack State won the NCAA National Championship.
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, this statement right here, let me throw this out here. We were hoping McHenry would knock off Jack State. Would have been epic. Do you think that was kind of the consensus of everybody that was watching for the most part?
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about it. How many people hated Alabama football in the 2010s because they won everything?
Hate is a strong word.
Disliked Alabama football in the 2010s because they won everything, or disliked Nick Saban, right? A lot of people did because they won. They were good.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people had the same feeling about that. It would have been cool to see. I mean, McHenry is a good squad.
Yeah.
So that would have been a cool story.
But they didn't, and Jack State won again. And look, let's not take away from what they've accomplished, but this is where I'm going to make the comparison. How can we make it better? How can we make the USBC Collegiate Women's better? This is what needs to happen, all right? There needs to be some type of degree of separation between the NCAA teams bowling in their own championship and the USBC championship. It could be a number of different things, right? If you win one, you're done. You can't do it anymore. Create a Division I and a Division II in USBC Collegiate for women. To where, okay, if you want to win a national championship on the NCAA side and the USBC side, all right, you're going to be in a Division I championship, and then those other schools that are not NCAA schools, they will have their own championship too. Now, what's the degree of separation there? I don't know. That's why but I truly believe it will make it better. Because let's be honest, the non-NCAA schools in the USBC championship, with the exception of a few, are climbing a big hill to win that championship. Agree or disagree?
I would argue almost a near impossible hill.
McHenry almost did it.
Yeah. I mean, they're a really good team, but I mean, you're only going to have one or two teams to even have a realistic chance.
I mean, what do you think about the Division I, Division II?
I mean, I'm not opposed to that idea. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack about the logistics of that. I think that's a viable solution. Now, I don't know enough about the NCAA women's side to, talk specifics on how it should work. But if we're going to continue on the women's side of collegiate bowling to have two separate entities, they need to learn how to play in the same sandbox better together. There's got to be some way to make this situation work better. And what me and Mark are asking for, I think, simply, is to just have the best opportunity for student athletes and their experience and their possibility for success. That's all we're asking for. If Jack State's going to continue to win everything, that's great. They deserve it. They're really good. But in 2026 for women's collegiate bowling, I don't feel like all women's teams have an equal chance in the same sandbox as it is broadcast or as it is structured right now.
I'm going to slightly disagree with that statement. They do on the NCAA side.
Correct.
They do. Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason is because just about every single player is on full scholarship with some exceptions. Okay. The resources that are in place, most of the NCAA programs at the high level, you can look at any of the Conference USA teams, and they probably have the best resources that you could possibly have in an NCAA women's bowling program. How is that program going to stack up, or how is a lower tiered program such as I'm trying to think of the right one to use, such as I should have had this in my notes because I actually thought I thought about this when I was driving home back to the house. Let's say let's say a Central Missouri. Okay. And I don't even know. They're an NCAA team. Central Methodist. They're not an NCAA team. I don't believe. Okay. The resources that Central Methodist has is not even going to be remotely close to what all the Conference USA teams have. Agree or disagree?
I agree. And I think you run into that same conversation within the NCAA as well. because the same resources that your D1 teams are going to have, your Vandy's, your Nebraskas, are not the same resources that your Newmans, Oklahoma Christians at the D2 level are.
I get that. I understand that. But what I'm comparing it to is any of the Division I NCAA, mainly the Conference USA teams competing on the USBC level is what I'm saying. I mean, if they want to have their own USBC championship for all those Conference USA teams and the North Carolina A&Ts and all those other schools that have the resources, once again, that's like Alabama going up against Abilene Christian. They don't have the scholarship. They don't have the NIL money. They don't have the resources in place. I mean, yeah, we're talking football and bowling here, but it is a well-oiled machine for the most part on all those schools that are in Conference USA. And when you have a school that is competing only on the USBC side, realistically, their chance is very slim. Agree or disagree?
I agree. And I think the biggest issue with that is it's not healthy for the sport for it to be that way. Would you agree?
I absolutely, because once again, it's in the best interest of the student athlete. And we're going to talk about this other, you're just being soft subject here in a little bit. But how are you going to grow the sport if you don't give certain universities and certain student athletes the opportunity to have success? Well, the old school comeback is, you got to put the resources in and you just got to get better. Well, this is women's college bowling. It's not Big 12 basketball or SEC football or SEC softball or even Conference USA softball. It's not the same comparison. In this day and age, those athletes are being paid. In NCAA Division I women's college bowling, most of those players are getting full rides with the best resources in place for them to be successful. Well, if the coach at Texas A&M, who's not an NCAA program, just a club team, goes out, gets some really good girls from the state of Texas and Kansas and wherever, and works his tail off for 2 years, 3 years, gets a really decent program put together, but doesn't have the resources that a Conference USA team has. And he works and works, and she works and works and works. And then they just get shut out because here comes the NCAA Division I teams to just blow them away. And then once again, people are going to say, they just need to get better. Okay, is that what you're going to tell an Abilene Christian if they're playing at Alabama in football? No, exactly. You're not. So in order to make things better, which is kind of the theme of this entire show, is there's got to be some separation between the D1 schools on the women's side and the USBC schools. And some people are coming back and say, you have the club championship and you have the NAIA championship and all. Look, there is zero comparison to the resources and what is going on in those big-time D1 schools compared to what's going on at, I don't know.
All the other clubs.
All the other ones. Yeah. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're right. And I think that same conversation within the scope of collegiate bowling in general is why you see club championships exist, because that's where a lot of those teams have the chance to earn the fruits of their labor, if you will, because they don't have the same resource as everybody else. And it's a great tournament. It's a great thing they do. And I'm glad they do it for those club programs. NIA also has their whole thing going on, but we all still live under the USBC sandbox.
Yeah. And here's something that I thought about once again to make things better, Jonathan, is it a feasible concept and idea that if the USBC, we all have our local associations.
Right.
Agree?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, they're everywhere. I think what needs to happen is there needs to be an individual, and maybe it starts in a certain pocket of the country, that is a liaison between the USBC and colleges and universities, to where they actually go out and they become not this salesperson, but the marketing extension of USBC Collegiate to say, hey, Rose State College, hey, you don't have a men's or women's bowling program. Hey, this is what you got to do to get it started. Look, we'll coordinate, we'll work together with this center or that center or whatever, and start it from the ground level. I cannot think of a single business that if you're not pursuing new customers, which in the grand scheme of things, what is an increase in collegiate teams? That's an increase in their customer base. Agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Is there any other business out there that you're not always trying to improve your revenue stream, your numbers, your customers, in an aspect that is going to make your business better? Is that just an idea and a concept that's way out there? And I know it would have to be the right fit and all that, but if you truly want to grow the sport, get somebody out in the field to help grow the sport. And maybe there's some type of tie-in with the youth programs that are taking place too,
mm-hmm.
along with the college stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But and then once again, if you do get one of those programs and you get them started and you get things going, boom, they get better. They buy in.
I like that idea because a similar thing exists right now within the public school system with the Bowlers Ed program that the USBC does, right? They go around the country with the resources, to school districts, showing the PE instructors what the Bowlers Ed program is, how they can use it, both in their instructional, plans, but then also from the greater scope of growing youth bowlers, which is a business model, right?
Yeah.
You're improving your membership, and hopefully they continue bowling over their lifetime, and then you kind of have a quote unquote lifetime member out of that investment in that youth. That same concept applied to collegiate bowling. I think there's some boots on the ground on that. I think that's not a bad idea. You're right. It has to be the right person, the right situation, things like that. Obviously, regional would be a huge step in the right direction on that. So that's one side of the coin, and I think that's a viable option because I think if a lot of universities knew how to do it, how to have those conversations and work with a local proprietor, because then you're also bringing business into your centers as well, which is a
and the universities
initiative, right? So there's a lot of good for everybody there, but I think if you have somebody who can kind of help in that process, I think there's value in that. The other side of the coin was the word you used, liaison, right? Yeah. Then you have regional individuals who kind of can keep tabs on all the collegiate programs in their region, can help with issues. Obviously, we can get into conversations about how much then that costs the USBC and staffing and things like that. But we're just talking broad spectrum idea here.
Right.
I do like both sides that kind of perspective would offer, because I think we can both agree on we just want to see the sport grow as well. As much as we want to see our own programs grow, we want the health of the sport to be as good as possible. And I think that happens with just more people bowling, more people in local bowling centers supporting those businesses, helping the proprietors out. Obviously, the more teams we can get in our tournaments too, there's advantageous reasons to have that. So we want to see programs pop up and grow. We're not greedy, we want to share and help each other as much as we can as coaches. But that can't be where all the help resides, because we don't have that kind of time. Right. Yeah. We're focused on our own programs and things like that. Obviously, we're willing to help another coach where he needs it. We're not helping start programs from the ground up. That's a different level of responsibility.
All right. So to kind of wrap up the whole NCAA thing, look, you can't take anything away from the success that those NCAA programs have had. But if we want to make it better on the USBC collegiate side, they need to have their own division. If they want to do the US, I mean, and most of them, what do they bowl? 3 tournaments just to get in the top 80 to where they qualify?
Yeah, it's not many for some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but, kudos to them. They did what they had to do, and it's impressive, the wins and the players and the opportunity that is out there for women's bowlers. If you're really good, you're going to get a pretty substantial scholarship.
Yeah, if you're a good up and coming female bowler in this country, you're going to do quite well for yourself.
I don't know what Coach Hayes is on the chat, and he says no. I don't know what he's saying no to. Do you know what he's saying no to?
All NCAA tournaments before Hoosier are Tier 2 tournaments. I think he's referring to qualifying into the top 80 requirement. That's what that
be in the top 80 though, did they not? They had to be in the top 80, correct?
They do, yeah. But I don't know as far as earning points. I think you do have to bowl a few of them. I don't know how it works. Again, I don't know enough about that side of the coin to speak on.
We're going to have him on.
There we go.
Soon to talk about the whole NCAA thing. But from the USBC Collegiate Women's perspective, I just think that there needs to be more opportunities for the non-NCAA programs. Fair enough?
Fair enough, because I think that solves a lot of what we're talking about now. I think it solves the disbursement of teams amongst sectional problems that we talked about a few weeks ago. So, yeah.
All right. Some other stuff from Nationals I just want to touch on real quick. The Hall of Fame banquet or the Night of Champions, I forget what they call it.
You talking about your favorite collegiate bowling event of the year?
Well, I've only been to it once, so I don't know. The Hall of Fame thing is really cool, right? The way that they honor players and all that, I think it's great.
Because there's some really, really cool people that were involved in collegiate bowling a long time ago that are now getting their fair share of the spotlight.
Agree.
Which is really cool.
So I want to ask you this, because it made for a long evening. It put a lot of focus away from the players themselves that were there. Do you think, and from an exposure standpoint, come on, man, let's be honest. Do you think most of those teams were really engaged and entrenched with everything that was being said by those superior people that have rose above and earned their spot in the Hall of Fame?
No.
All right. So what could be a better venue for the Hall of Fame? Any ideas? Because you don't want to overwhelm and kind of oversaturate some things that are going on. Where could the Collegiate Hall of Fame induction take place that would give it more exposure?
There's a couple options.
I want to see if you come up with the one that I'm thinking of. I didn't mean to stump you.
I mean, I'm just trying to Rolodex through when good opportunities would be. I'm trying to think through other sports.
I'm going to throw mine out, and you tell me if I'm absolutely out of my mind. Bowl Expo. During the whole Bowl Expo. The other option, I have two options. Bowl Expo. The other option is Junior Gold.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Now I think about that. See, I even think that you could attach it to even an event like the Hoosier, because you have so many teams there. It's a marquee event that's been, I don't know what year we're on. Aren't we in like the 80s of how many Hoosiers there's been? There's a ton.
Yeah, right? But hang on. I'm going to backtrack on that one.
Okay.
Don't you want that event to get the most exposure that it can get? It's not going to get that much exposure at the Hoosier. I mean, let's face it. It's just not.
I mean, it will from an internal standpoint. Yeah, but if you're trying to market this outward, then
that's what you're trying to do. Okay.
Then Bowl Expo, Junior Gold, those are pretty solid options.
Okay. So once again, we're trying to make things better here. Okay. We're not complaining. We're just pointing some stuff out that might make things better, because they deserve more than what they got, but they were so rushed because they had to get to all the other awards and dinner and all that and everything.
Right.
I think it would be really, really cool to give them the platform that they deserve and not have to focus on anything else that's going on. The full attention on the Hall of Fame.
I think you could still represent the Hall of Fame somewhere in that event, but I agree with giving the inductees more time to speak on behalf of their induction and things like that.
All
but
right.
still have a representation there at that event of the year's class into the Hall of Fame.
Yes. All right, hang on. I am pulling something up real quick because I want to add on to that. Hang on. All right, let me pull this up real quick and sorry for the delay here. Okay. This is another thing that I think can make that dinner better. Okay. Who was the player of the year? Do you know?
I read it, but I can't remember.
Carter Street.
Okay.
Okay. Player of the year. Do we know exactly what he did?
No.
They did not talk about Carter Street's accomplishments at all. And your national
question.
What?
Aren't we required to keep stats with a specific in a specific format for voting anyway? Don't they have this information?
Supposedly that's where they pull all the information from.
Seems like a great time to reference that information, if you ask me.
Well, there's a lot of kids out there. There's a lot of players. Yeah, they might know who Carter Street is, but okay, what did he do?
Yeah, because we get to see him all the time in our region, but how many don't? Yeah.
What did he do?
Yeah, good point. Good point. Well, I mean, if we have the information already, it should be pretty easy to recall.
I mean, it was that way for every single award that they gave out. I can honestly say I've been to a number of award ceremonies and banquets and all that, and I could not recall a single one where whoever won the award, they did not do some type of background and say, the following individual, blah, 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 blah. In this tournament, blah, 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 blah. Samuel Jones averaged 365. He had a 365 batting average and knocked in 64 RBI or whatever.
Right.
They always had his or her accomplishments noted by what they achieved in the award that they won. There was none of that. What can make it better? Give them the props that they deserve. It was just like an assembly line. I'm not kidding. It was, hey, all right, come up, blah, blah, blah. Now, some people might say, well, Mark, that means the ceremony would take 4.5 hours. Well, you're right if you have the Hall of Fame in there included. But I think the night should be about the collegiate bowlers, not about the Hall of Fame. I think the Hall of Fame deserves their own platform, and I think the student athletes deserve their own platform. Agree or disagree?
I agree 100% with that. Yeah. That night should be for the student athletes that are there for that event.
Once again, not complaining. We're just talking about how we feel that college bowling can be better.
And I think it's a valid point that you're making because that was your first time there, right? You're fresh eyes on how all this works. And you're you're talking about multiple banquets for people that don't know. Mark's done that across a lot of different sports as well.
Yeah.
So you've seen different applications. So I think your feedback on this specific topic is very validated. And, and I agree with that statement.
I'm going to throw something else out that kind of, I don't want to say it's, I believe this is the right way to do it because I think it makes it better. Okay. And I did not do my due diligence to discover or find out exactly how it works because you know why? I couldn't find it anywhere. Okay. I don't know. And I tried to make some phone calls. I got no answers. I got no responses. I got nothing. So one thing that I learned from spending 30 years in the professional fishing world is that you don't gripe about something what you do is you talk about, hey, will this improve this situation? Or will this make this situation better? Or will this, create a better environment for whatever players are involved or coaches or whatever it is? That's what I'm doing right now. And I worked really hard to do research before I ever threw something out there, but I couldn't find anything. But I did find some things that we're going to talk about here in a minute. I think that the player of the year, the coach of the year, and the rookie of the year, all three of those awards, and I don't even know if I try to remember if we had a freshman of the year, but I don't think we did. I could be wrong. It was kind of all the blur. You know why it was a blur? Because we were the last table to get our food. All right. I had to chip off the ice on the chicken. It was so cold. All right. So I was trying to, anyway, this is what I think needs to happen. I think that all the awards need to be after the postseason. Okay. Okay. Now, what you can do is you can have and showcase at that dinner who is being nominated for player of the year, for coach of the year, for rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. For
MVP. And announce your nominations.
You announce the nomination because you know what? Man, the player of the year, if he has an impact on winning a national championship, by gosh, that should be considered.
Yep.
All right. So what happens is you have this committee, and if a coach wants to submit a nomination for player of the year, then there is a criteria that nomination has to go through. John Smith did this, and this. His grade point average was this, and this. And, oh, by the way, we'll get to that here in a minute. His accomplishments were this. And then it goes to the committee, be it 3, 4, 5, whatever the number is. Then that committee decides who are going to be the 5 nominations for player of the year, for coach of the year. Because what would have happened if the Spring Arbor coach won a national championship? Dude, he's coach of the year.
Yeah. Think about the incredible story you could attach to that as well.
Yes.
And how many times on the show have we talked about the marketability of college bowling from an outside perspective, right? Sharing the feel-good stories and going into depth about what is actually happening within the sport to give the outside, fan a view inside of what's going on. Think about just the draw that story would be. A coach who's built a really good program. They just took everybody out at the national championship. Coach got a great accolade for doing it. An incredible story that could be marketed the crap out of for collegiate bowling, and it'd be positive on everybody.
It would be. But can you imagine if, let's say you were at nationals and one of your players got nominated for player of the year? The team would go nuts. They would go crazy for that guy. And then you have all 5 players that have been nominated by the committee for player of the year up on stage. Man, what a thrill. And even if you don't win player of the year, just to be nominated, that's some major accolades right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I really like that idea. Is that thumbs down on that?
I like that. I'm good on that.
Once again, because I think things happen at the national championship that have a bearing on who your player of the year is, who your rookie of the year is, who your coach of the year is. Yep. Ultimately, if every USBC men's and women's team is trying to win a national championship, well, then why are you selecting these players when the national championship hasn't even been decided? Agree?
Not disagreeing.
All right. I wonder what Coach Hayes' take is on that. Yeah, I wasn't talking about introducing the teams. Anyway, I just think that would be cool. Man, I got nominated in front of all these players, and I got a chance to win Player of the Year.
Did they do any kind of team introduction at the dinner?
I don't think so. I really don't.
Interesting. Because at the very least, wouldn't you want to know who's in the room?
I honestly, I don't remember because I was rather frustrated that we were the only table in the entire room that didn't have food. They're all looking at me going, hey, I don't know what to do. And then finally I grabbed one of the servers and I go, man, everybody's done with their dinner and we haven't even gotten anything yet. And she looked at me and she's like, you haven't gotten your food? No, I'll be right back. So
see, the best part for me over the course of the night was your text thread got more frustrating. Like you could tell you're getting more and more frustrated.
I just wanted you were waiting for your food. That was it. All right, here's the other thing that needs to happen, and I don't know if they did it. Did they show that on Bowl TV?
What?
The awards, the Hall of Fame, and all that and everything.
Not that I remember seeing.
Needs to be on Bowl TV. That needs to be a promoted event that showcases the players and coaches and individuals that are being nominated.
Coach Hayes says it was, so I guess I missed it. He said yes.
What's that?
It was on Bowl TV. The awards were on Bowl TV.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, I just didn't see it on the homepage. But right. Bowl TV was also streaming 3 events at the same time. There was a lot going on.
There's a lot of Bowl TV going on.
A lot of Bowl TV going on last week. Right. Did you see Paul's comment? I like this one about team introductions. He said they're so used to having the same schools there.
Oh, well, it is dominated.
That's a valid point, too. Yeah.
Yeah. But once again, that whole previous discussion that we just had, Jonathan, is about what? Making things better for the student athletes.
100%. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, that's why we do what we do, too. It's the root of everything. We just want the students to have the best student athlete experience. We want them to have the best collegiate bowling experience possible.
Yeah. And, somebody asked me, well, what would happen if you took this to the USBC, these suggestions? I go, I don't know. Would they get mad? Would they get, excuse me, would they be upset? Would they just kind of shake their head and go, okay, yeah, whatever. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. I don't know. But once again, I'm not slamming them. I'm just throwing. I am stating information that I truly believe will make college bowling better.
I mean, and the key is we wouldn't have this without the USBC.
No,
we greatly appreciate their partnership and their support of us, and they have great people that work inside that building because I get to see them all the time. But they also have a great idea of what's happening. But it's always good to have fresh eyes, fresh perspective come in and offer some suggestions. And I think that helps in every single sport because you can't stay stagnant. You got to keep trying to improve and getting better. And the modern day collegiate athletics world just looks a lot different than it did even a couple years ago. And so I think it's important just to have some evolution involved as well.
Without a doubt. All right. Next topic, which kind of ties in a little bit to what you mentioned earlier. Before the national championship, the release of the NCAA, did I say it right?
NCBCA.
Yeah. Coaches poll came out.
National Collegiate Bowling Coaches Association, for those that aren't familiar.
Guess how many people voted?
Was it 27?
28.
28. So close.
All right. And how many programs are out there?
160-ish on the men's side, maybe. I'm just ballparking.
All right.
Probably and 160-ish.
I know some of those programs are student ran.
Right.
Still. But this would make this better. To only have 24 coaches or 28 coaches vote in a poll, I don't care if it's the first one or the last one, is not good. Okay? And here's why. The sample set that you're getting only from 24 coaches does not truly tell the picture. So, how do we make it better? 2 things. One, every single coach has to belong to the NCBCA. Did I say it right?
Yep, you got that one. Yep.
You've got to be a member. All right. And if you need to reduce the membership dues, because I'm not really sure what those membership dues go to, but if you need to reduce it a little bit for every single school to be a member, that's what needs to happen. Right. You get that in place. Then every single week, you submit an online poll, and if you do not vote in that poll, the first time you don't vote, you get a notice. Hey, just want to let you know you did not vote in this poll. The second time you don't vote in it, you get fined. Now, what the dollar amount is, I don't know. You get fined.
We're getting aggressive quickly here.
Look, if people are going to say, hey, we're number 4 or we're number 12 or whatever in that poll, and there's only 28 people voting in it, well, is that a good base to pull from? Here's the other thing. They need to provide somebody in the NCBA, NCBCA needs to provide a weekly newsletter that talks about what certain teams have done across the country.
So that's my point when you talk about the low voting result. How many coaches do you think just don't vote because they can't vote with confidence in what they're looking at?
You got to provide them the information, or you hold them accountable to find out. But here's the deal. The resource doesn't exist. What do? Well, you go into bowl.com on the collegiate side and you look at the results, and that's it.
But also, there's an argument here, not to throw off your plan, just another angle at it. How much does that poll really mean?
If the validity of that poll really determines what type of season that the coaches feel that you're having, if they have the right information, it could be enormously valuable.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Because see, in basketball, like, there's over the years, there was you had the AP
coaches poll.
Yeah. You had the USA Today poll. I mean, you had all these polls, but it really counted towards seeding in the postseason tournament, where you were ranked, how many top 10 wins, but all this stuff takes place. But somebody needs to say, hey man, did you see what happened in match play out in Vegas? Well, Fresno State beat Weber 4-0 in the opening round and went on to, lose in the semifinals to Lawrence Tech or whatever. To where you cannot make an educated decision in your vote unless you have the information. Now, some people, this is what people are going to say, man. They're going to, that is way too much work. Way too much work. Okay, well then, in that perspective, when you're only pulling in 28 votes, it's meaningless.
Right.
It's meaningless because you have
in its current state, it means nothing. I agree with that.
But it could be so valuable in the NCBCA. Did I say it right?
Mm-hmm.
They have a huge asset with that poll, but it's got to be utilized in the right way. It's got to be utilized in the right way. And they shouldn't even do a poll going into the final week before nationals. When that poll should be done. I'm not kidding. If it's either every week or every other week, that's when it needs to be done. Because then it means something. And some people might say, well, it does mean something. Well, what does it mean when only 28 people are voting?
No, yeah.
Now, how do I know that only 28 people are voting? Because when you look at the last one, right? The last one, there were 28 first place votes. What does that mean?
Well, unanimous, if that was the same 28 people.
No, it was spread around.
Okay.
You had 28 first place votes, which means what?
At least 28 people voted.
28 people voted. Because if you vote, you have to vote for a first place team.
Yeah. I don't even open them anymore, to be honest with you.
Well,
I
you're
see
part
the
of the
email.
problem.
Well, because I can't vote with confidence. I don't know the picture.
Well,
It goes back to what you're saying earlier. Yeah.
If you had the resources and, once again, I think out there somebody, and I know some people have dipped their toes in the pool. Some people have tried to make a journalistic approach to collegiate bowling and kind of throw some stuff out there. I think there is a huge opportunity that if somebody who is in college, that is graduating, that has a desire to get involved in the media and really start from scratch and build a journalistic approach to collegiate bowling, I think it would be a good gig. Right. And even if it was just a part-time gig and, you're doing your engineering thing in your cube full time, I think it would be a great addition to what takes place. Could the USBC throw out a collegiate newsletter every week? Highlights from the previous week.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
They have that collegiate buzz email that goes around. They could use that more often.
I mean, that doesn't talk about results
it goes back to the same topic we've talked about multiple times. The USBC or collegiate bowling has a marketability problem, and it needs help. It could be something really good if there was a little effort or more hands willing to support that.
I was, and somebody out there, if you're listening to the replay or watching live, I was really curious as to whether or not local media from Green Bay was going to cover the event. Now, they might have been there on Championship Saturday. I don't know. But I did not see any local media. Now, there were some media people internally, and Bowler's Journal was there, and there was some other, Bowling with the Fifth, he was there. But I was so tired. I never watched the news at night. I don't know if there was any local news coverage or anything like that on the event. Don't know. But that ties into what you said about the marketability, and maybe it was. I just don't know.
Right.
But if it was, would you not want that either on Facebook or Instagram or whatever? And
you want it everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't really seen it. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I don't know where to look. But once again, it's about the student athletes and what can you do to showcase what these student athletes are accomplishing in the best interest of the game of college bowling. All right. And once again, we greatly appreciate everything that has happened. We just want to make it better. Trying to make it better. And I think if every coach out there had that same type of MO of, okay, what can I do to make college bowling better? What can I personally do to make college bowling better? I think the sport would go a lot further than where it has. Now, the flip to that is, hey, it's been working for 50 years. Why do we need to do anything any different? Well, I think the NBA would be in a heap of trouble if they didn't realize, back in the day that, hey, those guys need to dunk the basketball. Okay, we need to change that rule. They can dunk.
What do you think college football would look like in the present day if they still just played a single BCS national championship game?
I know. It wouldn't involve and have. I don't think NIL is what it is today if it wasn't for the advancement of the craziness that's taken place in college sports.
Yeah.
What would happen? What would the game look like if the 3-point line wasn't in play in both college and professional? I'm looking at Coach's Hayes.
I think he's spot on with that comment.
Yeah, so I'm not going to throw that out there.
If those want to go read that, they can. I agree with that 100%. But it takes everybody, Mark. It's what you're saying is right.
All right.
You got to come with solutions, but it takes everybody to row.
All right.
Row down the river.
Next subject. And once again, man, we are just all over the place here. Look, I'm going to say this. There is nothing better than a competitive environment, of which you and I have been in it. Our teams have been in it, where you've got trash talking and chirping and all kinds of stuff taking place between the teams, but it is done in a respectful manner.
Yep. There's a way to do it.
There are a zillion ways that you can intimidate your opponent through body language, through, cheering, through slapping it off, through, what you say, what you do. But is it over the top when you cross that line to do it in a way that's disrespectful?
Yes, there's a way to do it. And there's a sportsman-like way to do it. I mean, in every single sport, you see a little bit of trash talk, a little bit of mental gameplay in things that are said back and forth. It's the top level of competitive collegiate athletics, and that's what we're competing in. So it's going to happen. But yes, Mark, there's a respectful way to that occur. If you have, if you're talking to the guy standing next to you and you ask if you inhale or exhale when you take your first step in your approach, yeah, there you go. There's a little mental game wrench you just threw in the plan. Is that disrespectful? No. Now, if you dive into the bucket of explicit language, then yes, that is one that crosses over the line. That becomes disrespectful.
Some people will call, well, you're just soft. Well, that has nothing to do with being soft.
I think it's more about, especially for us, Mark, who we represent at our respective institutions. It's something greater than ourselves. We talk about that on the team all the time. But you have it a little bit differently. You guys have names on the back of your jersey. We don't. Like, ours is a school name, right? So that's who you're representing at all times. People see your jersey. They don't know who your name is. They know what university you bowl for.
Yeah.
So if you do anything that's disrespectful or out of line, that's a direct reflection on the university. So it's a really important, subject we talk about. Honestly, classroom day one, we spend a lot of time on it. We talk about that very subject. And I know we both feel the same way about it. We hold our players to a certain expectation, but they're competitors. We want them to use that side of their competitive mindset, but there's a way to do it.
I was somewhat surprised by the amount of uncalled for language at the national championship this year. I got nothing against it. I mean, if you want to use those words, use them when you're in your car or whatever. I mean, do whatever you want to do.
This goes back to the exact conversation we started with, and now we're on a different subject, but it's the same thing. It represents really poorly on collegiate bowling because Bowl TV picked all of that up. And if you turn on Bowl TV and you're watching a section of collegiate bowling, especially if they didn't have like the broadcaster mics on, you were just watching one of the open mic channels.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a few teams, and I'm watching in my office, so I'd have the TV on mute, right? Because there's some teams that are just vulgar, letting it rip, and you're just like, this is not a great look for them as an institution, A, but B, for collegiate bowling in general. I think it's in poor taste.
It was a point of emphasis, too, that Zach pointed out at the coaches meeting. Hey, we want you to be professional. We want you to conduct yourself.
Well, it's in the rule book.
It is. Yeah. And it was the entire tournament. The entire tournament. And I know if one of my players was doing that, and some people might say, well, that's your program, stay out of my business and all that. Look, when it gets to the point that there is name calling with words that are vulgar and abusive, that's when it crosses the line.
And that's not being soft. That's standing up for what is correct.
And those people out there that think that by dropping F-bombs and calling people POSs and all this stuff and everything, it makes you tough. Well, what it does is it makes you disrespectful, not only to the school and to your program, to the sport itself. And if you want to go in the paddock and have a pity party and do whatever and throw stuff around and cuss and be vulgar, that's your choice. But when that camera's on and the public is watching you, you represent the sport, your university, and your coach.
100%. Couldn't say it better than that sentence right there. Yep.
And if people out there that are listening to this think that I'm just this old, gray-haired old man that doesn't want people to cuss and all that, you know what? In that situation, I don't, because it's disrespectful.
Yeah. I mean, how many years do we have between us? 40? And I agree with you 100%. So it's not just the old man, get off my lawn mentality. No, it's we stand for something greater. We want collegiate bowling to be respected. We want people to follow the rules also, especially when the rule book is that blatant about the use of language and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the biggest problem I had with it was on those open mic bowl TV channels. If you just want to watch some collegiate bowling, if you have a son or daughter who's interested in it and you're going back to watch a squad and you turn that on and that's what you hear,
maybe some
it's just not a good look.
It's rampant anywhere anyway. I mean, you can drive down and put gas in your car and you're going to hear it blared all over that. I mean, I get it. Right? It's not like we're living this sheltered life where we're never going to hear those words or we're never going to watch something where those words are in place or anything. What I am saying, in that environment, in that showcase, in that event,
you got to be high class in that moment.
You got to be respectful.
No matter what. Yep.
And if you want to win by doing that and think that is going to intimidate anybody, I got news for you, man. It doesn't intimidate anybody. What it does is it just shows how disrespectful you are to your program, to the sport, and to the coach that is coaching that program. Hey, I had a kid that did it 2 years ago. 2 years ago. You know what happened? I got a call from my AD the next morning at 4:30 a.m. You know why? Because somebody sent him an email about the behavior that was displayed by one of my players.
That'll do it.
You know what happened?
But as a responsible coach, you were all over that, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. We had a meeting at 5:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Not just with him, but with the entire team. My high school coach in basketball, he said something that just is entrenched in my brain. When you have that jersey on, you not only represent yourself, you represent your school, me, and this program.
Yep.
All right.
100%.
Now, are you perfect? No. Are situations going to happen just because of the intense nature of competition? Absolutely. Are you going to make mistakes? Yes. But if you don't learn from that mistake and understand that most of the time respect and winning with respect is much more valuable in the long run. I mean, seriously, you're gonna be in your job and walk into the office and just start dropping off F-bombs, as you go to your cube? Probably not.
Yep.
Probably not. So,
you couldn't have said any of that any better. Like it bugs me because of the light it has on. We say it all the time. This is the top level of collegiate athletics for our sport. It needs to be done with a high level of class, high level of sportsmanship. There's not a place for that in here. And I get not every institution holds their players to the same standards
which is their business. It's their business.
Which is their business, and that's fine. But the USBC Collegiate Rulebook, which governs all of us, still says, here's the rule, don't do it. But, Mark, like you said, it's not a conversation of softness because that's a whole different realm. Yeah. It's just called good sportsmanship. And I that's something that I value highly. Like I talk to our guys all the time about being good teammates to each other, but then, good teammates to those around them on other programs as well. Sportsmanship's really important. I don't want to lose it.
There is an art to chirping and trash talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I have known players that a cuss word never came out of their mouth, and I was massively intimidated by what they did or what they said. And they didn't do anything bad or said. It was just like, what did he just say?
Yeah.
And then you're totally off your game.
Or for me, it's the old school, the daggers, right? The stare down from the other side of the approach.
Nonverbal communication.
That's a classic. Yeah.
So I know Zach did the right thing, and I know he approached the challenge that lied ahead for
great tournament director too. Does a great job.
I cannot tell you how good of a tournament director Zach is. And he addressed it.
But it's up to the other it's up to the other coaches to uphold the standard though.
Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know what people up the ladder would think about that if their program was being represented in that manner. But we're moving on. That's my take on that. All right. What else, man? We've checked off a lot.
Yeah. Paul's last comment was pretty good too. They find the PBA players. Do they find the schools? No, but
no.
I guess that'd be hard to accomplish. But I do think it's a conversation that needs to be had across the college bowling industry. But no, we covered a lot of things tonight.
Yeah,
a good season wrap-up show. We covered all the major things that were bugging us.
Yeah. So, there are a number of talented players that was their last collegiate tournament. And I'm really
a large number of talented players
to see what they do when they give the tour a shot. A lot of DNA
easier if you
out
had a
there,
combine.
Man. We talked about that today in the locker room when we were.
If you want to know more about the combine, watch the last episode 10. You'll get all the information you need on that one.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say, I just want to give a huge shout out to all the teams that made it there for their first time. Belmont Abbey, Spring Harbor, Marion, Wisconsin. It is very, very difficult to make it there. And we were going to have the Marion, Wisconsin coach on tonight, but he had a situation come up that he had to take care of. We will definitely get him on in the future. I know I spoke with the Belmont Abbey coach for quite some time. He's going to come on the show. And then I also reached out to the Spring Harbor coach. Hopefully he will come on soon too. We're going to continue doing this even through the off season. We may not do it every week, but we will do it. Jonathan and I, our next big event is we're going to a recruiting event in Michigan later in the summer. And then we are working diligently on something that we feel is going to be groundbreaking to make college bowling better. And more news on that to come in a few weeks. And I cannot wait to tell the student athletes what lies ahead of them from an experience standpoint, from a competition standpoint, and just from the ability to compete standpoint. So super excited about that, Jonathan.
What's exciting for me in this process too, as we work on those things behind the scenes, is when you start to pull back the rugs and talk to some of these people around college bowling and around the industry, you realize that everybody wants the same thing. They want it for the student athletes. They want to do anything they can make collegiate bowling better. And to have some of those conversations and to keep that train moving, it's been refreshing to me as well. It feels like we're making progress, and we've had incredible feedback from a bunch of people we've crossed along the lines, and all that helps refine and continue to get better.
No doubt. All right. So, while all this was going on, man, I moved.
That's right.
And you know what I got going on tomorrow?
What?
I'm getting the boat ready.
Oh, yeah, I know you've been itching. You've been a little unhappy that you haven't been out on the water yet during prime fishing season.
Not unhappy, just delayed. Delayed.
Yeah, you had a good thing going. So
yeah, it was cool.
Happily delayed, maybe.
All right, and you're going to make a trip up here soon. We're going to do a little practicing together. And
I need some help. Yeah.
Me too. I mean, I haven't bowled for a month.
I just got back from Reno, from USBC Open Championships, and that pointed out a few things that I need to work on. So we're going to get to the lab on that stuff. Because Mark, as you know, we don't get to bowl a lot during the college season.
We do not.
It's kind of now that we really get to dive back into things in our own games. So.
We do not, but I will be here. And folks, anybody that catches the replay, please, man, put your comments in there. Tell us if you agree, disagree. I mean, I want to know. And I hope that the sentiment is definitely, hey, these two guys, they truly want to make the game better for all parties involved. Right. This is my last hurrah, man. I changed how professional bass fishing was covered. I made it to several state championships coaching basketball. I got to start a company for UPS. I made it to the national championship in 3 years in bowling. This is my last hurrah, and we're going to do everything we can to make it happen, man.
Yep. Having a good time doing it, too.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, folks, that's it. We're out of here.